Hi and welcome back to another episode of Rob. The first came in a little hot, that first one. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Robuilt. I'm your host Rob, and this is kind of a crazy little ditty to record because I actually did a portfolio reveal back in April of 2021 where I talked about how my net worth was $1 million. And I guess the simple way to put it is that my net worth has changed. It's gone from $1 million to $3 million. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to say that out loud, but it's true. And I'm really thankful. And I want to talk about everything that encompasses that, like how my portfolio has changed over the last, how long has that been? 7 months? Over the last 7 months. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Caleb's here recording today. So let's just start at the very beginning. It was a cold night in December of 1989. All right, maybe not that far back. But I've always grown up watching my parents try their hand at real estate. And I had seen them had many successes and many hardships in real estate as well. And I was just always super intrigued by the concept of like flipping houses, having rentals, and doing all that kind of stuff. Now, my parents were immigrants from Mexico, and they gave up a lot to come to America and provide a living for me and my sisters. They gave up a lot. My mom gave up a really great job in Mexico. My dad was a doctor in Mexico and was not able to carry that license here. And so because of that, they were just having to work a lot through my childhood to support me and my family. And they were doing their best with the real estate stuff. They had full-time jobs and they didn't have a ton of money to keep investing in real estate. And so I think just deep down for me, I've always been super gravitated towards real estate because I sort of want to continue what they started. Like, they did their best, they sacrificed a lot for me, and I want to use my life and the privileges that I was given as an extension to their life and carry on that legacy for them. That's always been my motivation as a real estate investor, is to take care of them and make them proud, which, Mom, Dad, if you're watching, let me know. Do I make you proud? I hope I do. So I know deep down money is obviously a part of that, and that's obviously going to be attributed to like success that I might have in the real estate world. But at the end of the day, my motivation is, yes, I do want money, but I want to take care of my family, but I also want to take care of like my direct family, like my wife, Isla, Rook, and that's deeply important to me too. And I'm happy to say that I've done that and things are going well for us. And truth be told, we probably don't have to work anymore. If we really didn't want to and we wanted to live very frugally for the rest of our lives, we could call it quits and just kind of float on what we have.
When I have to face my problems, I show up in the back of a limo wearing a $2,000 suit.
But the more I'm able to grow, I'm able to help my families and I'm able to help the generations to come. And so for me, I think that's my biggest driver. It is really funny though to like kind of be here and read comments and just like, so many people assume that I'm like a trust fund baby. Let's just go ahead and put like 1,000 comments here from TikTok, or as I like to call it, talk.
There you are. You have my social media comments?
Yeah, right here. I just finished this morning. It's a pretty brutal job sifting through all that darkness.
It's funny because I talk about my real estate journey and my Airbnb journey all the time on TikTok, and all the comments are always like, oh, cool. So first step is have $1 million to buy a house on Airbnb and be rich. Got it. And I'm like, oh. It's like, it's so dumb. Like, people always assume that just because I have a big portfolio of houses and because I have money now, I've always had money or I've always been rich. And sadly for those people, they'll probably never get too far ahead in life because they're just so focused at being mad at me and other rich people for having succeeded versus working on how they can fix that for their personal situations. I've been there, I've been broke, it sucks. I was frustrated that I had student loans, so I totally empathize with it. But at the end of the day, if I would have been angry at Jeffrey Bezos for being the richest man in the world, I would never have succeeded in real estate. So with that said, I think as you begin to shape your portfolio, don't compare yourself to other people. Just focus on your situation and how you can carve out a nice livelihood for you and your family. And I also want to just like very much say that it's never too late to start. I started when I was 27. I personally felt like I was starting too late because I was comparing myself to so many other people out there. And that just wasn't true because look at me today. Like, I've been able to build something that I never could have dreamed of when I was 27 when I started. So Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. Kind of a lame phrase, but it's true. It takes time. It's a snowball that keeps rolling until one day you're like, oh, that's a dope little snowman. But really, it's never too late to start. As a matter of fact, in the host camp program, I've got people that are 30, 40, 50, 60 plus years of age. So truly, it's never too late. And if you're interested in learning about host camp, my Airbnb mentorship program, I'll link it down below for you. So with that all, let's get into it. Let's get into my portfolio. I'm done blabbing. I'm done giving you my TED talk and everything like that. And I want to just talk you through how I was able to really start with $6,000 and grow it into what I have today. Cool? Are you guys good with that? All right. And obviously I'm getting into some pretty personal financial information here. So if you wouldn't mind doing me a solid and hitting the like button down below, it does help me with the YouTube algorithm and I'd really appreciate it. So let's start with the very first real estate investment I ever made. It was a house in Kansas City. It was $159,000 and that was above our budget at the time. Like, that was by far our brokest. I think to get into that house with an FHA loan, it was like $5,000, $6,000, something like that, which we did not have. We really didn't have that, but we happened to get a tax return back that year year. That was about $5,000 or $6,000, and we were able to slip into this house. We lived in this house for a couple of years, and we sold it for like $215,000. So basically, after all of our fees and commissions and everything like that, we had roughly like a $30,000, $40,000 profit from that property, closer to the $40,000 mark. So we moved to LA, we moved into an apartment, and we were able to save a little bit of money there. And I said, hey, let's buy a house in LA. My wife was like, can we afford it? And I was like, not really, but I don't want to pay, $1,850 to an apartment complex. So let's just do it. I'd rather be broke and own a house than broke and rent an apartment. And so she just believed in me and went with it. And we were able to get into this house in Los Angeles. It was about $18,000 down from us after different credits and repairs and everything like that. We were able to get into this house that was $624,000. Now, truth be told, we could not afford this house. I don't even know how the heck we qualified for it.
We're gathering information, okay? We're not advertising our short position, right? We don't want to spook everybody. Can you do that? I know you got a big mouth, you like to run it. Can you just keep it shut for a few days?
Okay.
But actually attached to it was this studio that I'm in right now. And I said, well, hey, if we can rent that on Airbnb, I think we'll make between $2,000 and $3,000 a month. And so that's exactly what we did. That $2,000 to $3,000 was able to help us subsidize our $4,400 mortgage, which was, it's just, that at the time was like such a scary number for us. Now, it's toilet paper money now, but no, I'm just kidding. It's expensive now. It's expensive then, it's expensive now. So let's just fast forward a little bit. I built a tiny house in my backyard and I've been renting it on Airbnb. I've been house hacking it. So to date, after you factor in all my house hacking and all the Airbnb rental income and everything that I've made on this property, I'm probably between the $180,000 to $200,000 mark on rents received on this that I've never had to spend on a mortgage. And that $180,000 to $200,000 I've been able to just dump into all my real estate ventures that we'll get into here in a second. So to date, this house has actually appreciated quite nicely. Looking at comps that have sold recently and talking to my realtor, at one point I thought it was worth between $1.25 million. Now it looks like it's worth closer to like $1.3 million. My total equity on this house is $550,000, which is very good. I'm very happy with that. I think it might be a little bit more than that, but just to keep it simple, about $550,000. If I lost everything tomorrow, I know that I could sell this house and me and my family would be just fine. So moving on, I bought an empty lot in Joshua Tree, California for $12,500. That lot would eventually become Casita Conejo. And since that time, I've been approached a few times about selling that house. One investor actually offered me $450,000 cash for it. I said no because I love that house so much. But at this moment, I probably have about $200,000 of equity in it. And just to remind you, I built that house for $165,000. I'm not gonna get into all the fine details. I have plenty of videos that talks about the numbers of this house. But just know for right now, I have about $200,000 of equity in that house. I then ran out of money. I didn't have any more money to like expand my Airbnb portfolio, and I partnered up with a couple of friends, and this is a concept known as OPM, other people's money. And between this partnership, they were able to front the cash and we were able to buy a condo in Austin. That condo in Austin at the time was $279,000. It's appreciated some, not too much. It's been a pretty consistent performer in my Airbnb portfolio. In that specific condo, I probably have about $30,000 of equity. It could be a little bit more depending on which comps you look at, but conservatively speaking, I have about $30,000 of equity in that house. But then as I said, I ran out of money and I had no more, but a couple of my friends approached me and they're like, hey, we see that you're doing this Airbnb thing. Would you be interested in partnering up if we could front the cash? And I was like, cool, yeah, that sounds great. So we went out and bought a chalet in Gatlinburg, Tennessee for $324,000. That has also been a really great performer on that. I have a whole video that talks about how much of a cash cow that property is. In this moment, I probably have about $100,000 of equity in that house for a very small investment on my part. I put in about $16,000 or so and my partners put in the rest, but I made up for it in sweat equity and I've been managing it, I've been running it, I've been making sure that's running smoothly.
This looks like you took a crap or a dump in the printer. You are scum!
And so if you're ever in a situation where you feel like you don't have money, but you want to get into real estate, consider tapping your network, friends, families, your rich uncle and aunt, whoever it is, and try to strike up a deal with them where they can either lend you or front you the money to get into your first property. Now, this is usually about the time where my TikTok comments are like,
oh cool, step one, have a rich uncle and aunt.
Yeah, okay, all right, yeah, whatever. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying that going and finding someone in your network to lend you money is easy, but you gotta hustle for it. Like, I hustled for every single deal I ever got. I went and I pitched myself and I proved myself, and I was able to get into these investment relationships by proving myself to these investors. Again, not easy, but I never said it was. What I always say is that real estate is not hard, but it is hard work. So you do have to put yourself out there. And also, don't feel like you have to have the most agreeable terms. Like maybe you find an investor who will put up the cash and you'll only take a 25% stake in the property or a 10% stake. Whatever gets you into your first deal, I think that's what you gotta take. Don't get so focused on 50-50 or 60-40. Get focused on getting in your first deal and use that momentum to get into your next deal. Deal? So then fast forward a bit and I built Casa Mariposa, my 880 square foot small home in Joshua Tree, California. And I took the proceeds from that, bought 2 houses. We're flipping a house right now. Our total profit were we to sell those 3 houses would be about $350,000 or so. So my stake in that, I'm a 50-50 partner in that, would be about $175,000. And over the years, I've accumulated a pretty good amount of land. I've got about 40 acres in Arizona. I've got a couple pieces of land in Joshua Tree. I have about 50 acres on the East Coast. Don't worry about where, but my 50% stake in all of that land comes out to about $100,000. Honestly, it's probably worth a little bit more than that, but I'm trying to like undershoot some of these numbers. You know, a lot of these numbers are probably undershooting a bit. So moving forward, if you remember, I bought my house in Tennessee for about $500,000. As soon as I closed on it, I got the appraisal back. It appraised for $610,000. So right there, I was like, oh man, I just made $100,000 in equity from just buying this house. Well, things have really just popped off in the Smokies. It's definitely worth a lot more. I've seen estimates all the way up to $750,000, as low as like $685,000. So I'm just gonna go like the middle here, $700,000. And so if we do look at that $700,000 number, then I have about $250,000 of equity in my Tennessee property. After I finish my tiny house slash glamping resort slash treehouse Ewok village, it's gonna be worth millions. But for right now, I have about $250,000 of equity in that house. On top of that, my revenue can be anywhere from like $80,000 to $100,000 on Airbnb. So it's always gonna be a pretty solid short-term rental performer for me. And yeah, like I said, I'm really excited to actually finish the village because yes, a multi-million-dollar payout one day, be pretty nice, be pretty nice. Then I have a property that I closed on not too long ago in Wisconsin. I don't really have too much equity in that, but I guess it's worth saying because it's a portfolio reveal, right? I have about $20,000 of equity in that specific house, and that would wrap up my entire real estate portfolio, which comes to a grand total when you add it all up to about $1,425,000. It's about $425,000 more than the first time that I did this video, which is really not too bad for 7 months. And on top of that, not only has it appreciated $425,000, but I also make a profit off of all of these different investments of about $25,000 a month, like net. After all my expenses, I'm getting $25,000 a month. So I make $300,000 a year from Airbnb profits, and it's going up $425,000 in 7 months' time. So that right there is the power of real estate appreciation and Airbnb profits compounding on each other. Okay, so this was a bit of a curveball. This is one that I never really thought that I would be investing in, but crypto. I currently have about $350,000 invested in various cryptos. I'm hoping to eventually move that up to a little bit closer to $500,000. I don't really want to talk about this too much because I don't want like fake bots all in my comments saying,
What's at me, bro? What's at me right now? I'm gonna teach you how to make lots of money.
if you ever see a comment from my channel that's telling you to send me a WhatsApp message, it's a scam. It's not me. Please do not do that. But currently the majority of my crypto portfolio is Bitcoin, and I also have a decent amount of Flux, Avalanche, and Solana. And like I said, I'm even looking to diversify more into NFTs and all that kind of stuff. But don't worry, if you guys are like, oh boy, our favorite Airbnb YouTuber is becoming a crypto bro. It's all good, don't worry, it's not gonna become a crypto channel, though I may occasionally make content. Nah, I'm not, it's fine. Don't worry, the Airbnb mogul you know and love is here to stay. Moving into stocks, I have about $120,000 invested. I have a pretty small 401k account. When I was working full-time 9 to 5 with my wife, we were broke, so we weren't really like dumping too much into that. And now I get greater returns from literally everything else that I do, so I invest in real estate more than I do in stocks, but I have been more actively investing in stocks. I've invested a decent amount of money into companies like Airbnb, as well as Atlassian/Teams, and over the next 12 months, I'm looking to put about $100,000 into the S&P 500. And I don't know how much more I'm gonna do after that, but anytime that I continue to invest in the stock market, it's probably gonna be the S&P 500. They're better stock pickers than me, so I'm pretty much gonna put all my stock money into there. But with all that said, none at all is financial advice. So seek a certified professional's advice, not some goofy YouTubers. And last little bucket here, which isn't really all that little, but I call this like my liquid assets. This is really where I keep the money saved for my taxes, my savings account, personal checking account, and all the money that I currently have set aside that's gonna be allotted towards down payments on houses that I'm currently in escrow on. And my liquid assets right now come out to about $1 million. Whew, I hate saying that out loud.
Bad millionaire.
I'm the world's worst millionaire. But yeah, but you know, liquid assets could also be like money markets and stuff like that, so leave me alone! And like I said, it's all partitioned off for a bunch of different uses, and one of the uses that I forgot to mention was a tiny house village, and my half is gonna cost me about $350,000. So let's tally all that up real fast. So my real estate portfolio consists of my LA house, Casa Conejo, my condo in Austin, my chalet, my 3 houses on the East Coast, all my land acquisitions, my house in Gatlinburg, Tennessee on 52 acres, and the house that I own in Wisconsin. That all comes out to $1,425,000. Then we add in my crypto, and that's another $350,000. And then we add in my stocks, which is another $120,000. And then we end with my liquid assets, which come out to about $1 million. So when you add all of that up, it comes out to $2,895,000. That's my current net worth. Really wish I could get to that 3 million. How can I make $105,000 in the next 2 minutes? Which is wild because I've effectively tripled my net worth in about 7 months time. I'm like so close to $3 million and I'm really annoyed at myself because I went like pretty conservative on some of these numbers, but it's too late to change that now. So the thumbnail and the title is gonna say revealing my $3 million portfolio, which I'm relatively certain that it is, but I undershot it a bit. I'm sorry, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna build a time machine and go back and not watch the video? It's too late, you're in this far, and if you are, it's, you know, I appreciate it. Thanks for sticking around. Okay, so this was kind of bothering me a bit. So I went back and sharpened pencils, and I went and actually found out this is like finding $20 in your jean pocket. I have about $40,000 more in stocks than I thought. Stocks, IRAs, and all that kind of stuff. And I definitely undershot it on a few properties. So let's just say that I'm right over $3 million. I don't know by how much exactly because some of this is a little bit subjective, but for the most part, just over $3 million. I did it. I did it, Mom. I did it, Mom and Dad. The crazy thing that I want to remind everyone is that this this pseudo $3 million portfolio that I have, and it all started because I bought my first house. And that house had a hefty profit that I was able to use to get into my next house. And I never spent my money. I was like super cheap along the way. All my friends and family would make fun of me for how cheap I was, but I just kept reinvesting it all along the way. And I kept reinvesting and reinvesting it. And now here I am extremely proud of what I've been able to build over the past 4 years. Now, probably one of the questions that you had is like, how did you make all that money if you're only making $25,000 a month from Airbnb? And that's a really good question. I don't just make money from Airbnb anymore. I make money from so many different income sources, from affiliates to YouTube income, to brand partnerships, to my educational products, to my real estate, to my Airbnb income. They say that the average millionaire has between 7 and 8 different income streams, and I'm here to confirm that that's true. So if one of your goals is to be a millionaire, like that's something that you aspire to be, then yeah, you have to start working on your side incomes and your different income streams, and you have to try to make them as passive as possible so that you can move on to the next income stream. This is something that I'm learning every single day. And now I'm even looking to diversify outside of real estate and start investing in different businesses and startups. It's possible for you to do that. It's just gonna take you some time, and you have to be willing to be cheap and be broke for a little while, because I promise you, one day your head's down and then 4 years later you look up and you're like, wow, I'm really proud of what I was able to accomplish. So with all of this said, I know that like $3 million is like very flashy and it's like, oh, that's so cool, you must be so happy and blah, blah, blah. I do want to give the caveat that I'm not really happier that my net worth is $3 million, if I'm being honest. Don't confuse this with me saying I'm not happy or I'm sad about it. It just means that when my net worth was $1 million 7 months ago, or my net worth was negative $400,000 4 years ago, I was still happy. The money side of it, of course, helps, and it helps me buy convenience, and it helps me get my time back in some regards. And obviously I would rather have money than not have it. But I don't want you to think that as soon as you hit your monetary goal, you're like, oh my God, I'm happy now. I can do whatever I want. Like, happiness has been solved for me. I'll never be sad again in my life. You still have problems. Money is great and it's not everything. And sometimes it takes having it to realize that it's not everything that you thought it would be. That's the honest truth. Like I said, this isn't a me happy versus sad thing. This is just like I've realized that life for me is family and being able to provide to them. And if I can do that, that's what makes me happy. So what is my net worth goal moving forward? You know, I don't know. I don't really have financial goals the way I used to. Like, my big goal was $1 million. And when I hit that, I was just like, I'm just gonna keep grinding and hopefully I can grow it. And now it's $3 million. So if I was gonna put an arbitrary number on it for a year from now, I guess I would like it to be north of $5 million. But honestly, if things just stayed the same, I'd be pretty happy with that. Like, I'm pretty grateful for what I have. So I don't really have a number that's gonna make me happy, because as I discussed it, if I make $5, $10, $20, $30 million next year, I know I'm not gonna be happier. So I really try to stay disciplined and remind myself that happiness comes from the fact that I'm living my dream job and doing all the things that I've always wanted to do. And it's not a number in a bank account. And I realize the comments are like, well, yeah, it's easy for you to say you have it. Yeah, I get it. I get it. You can think whatever you want about me. And here's the crazy thing about all of this, okay? This might blow your mind, but I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. But I work hard and I love what I do, and I'm happy to figure it out. And I just have to remind myself that I am so much better and savvy and efficient and so much more entrepreneurial, and I have so much more perspective than I had 4 years ago when I started. I don't think I'll ever figure it out, but I'm really excited for future Rob to watch this video in 4 years, because I know that they're gonna be even better than the last 4 years. So with that, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch y'all on the next episode of Robuilt. Okay, bye, see ya.